Hi, friends.
Hey.
So, one of the things we decided to do, which we think would be fun,
Mhm.
is to record a video update and to do a little more of that
Yeah.
because we miss you guys and
Yeah.
we'd love for you to get to know us like every day. Um, we just put our kids to bed. We're
Yeah,
having
it's
a
late.
party over here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so some of you may know already what we do, but
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, we decided to shift into a different ministry.
That's right. And what we're doing now is we are helping create safe spaces, provide safe
Mhm.
spaces for men and their families to
Mhm.
heal from compulsive porn use and other
Mhm.
addictions and to find that healing, hope in
Mhm.
Christ and to ultimately thrive
Mhm.
in who they really are in Christ.
Yeah.
And we do that in a variety of
Mhm.
ways. One is
Individual
individual coaching,
coaching, couples
couples
coaching.
coaching,
Hmm.
Ellen's coach,
Hmm.
and mentoring men in small groups
Hmm.
through a recovery process.
Hmm.
The same one that I've been through that's brought so much
Hmm.
healing into my life, still is. We're all
Hmm.
still in process. And then also developing leaders in that
Hmm.
and in other areas as well.
Yeah. The purpose of the video is to share some really cool things that are happening, are
That's
going to
right.
happen, have happened.
Little update.
Celebrate, and also share some hard
Mhm.
things that we would love
Yeah.
for you all to enter with us. And so we know that. Okay, so some cool things. Let me share that first.
Mhm.
In the last month, about a month, I can't believe that's been a month. John had the opportunity to be a part of something really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, I got a text on a Friday morning a few weeks ago, and basically saying, "Hey, do you want to be part of this filming?" Context is 5 years ago plus, my recovery was sparked by being invited into a small group with guys on watching a cinematic documentary on that really is a training helping men to find healing from the bondage of sex or
Mhm.
porn addiction in Christ, in
Mhm.
the community with other men in small
Mhm.
groups.
And so this is
Yeah.
kind of
So
part
so
two,
it's part two.
right?
Yeah,
Part
it's a
two of that.
sequel.
Yeah.
Years later, a follow
Hmm.
up saying, "Okay, yeah,
And they
this
were
is the
looking for
next part."
young, attractive men, and so John got recruited. He
They did
literally
actually
just spit
ask.
on the camera.
Oh
I just need
God,
to say that. Anyway,
sorry.
so he got to be a part of this really cool thing. And then I also got to be a part of a writers' conference. And
Hmm.
John and I have been talking a lot about story and how there's a significance to, like, the Lord is writing my story
Hmm.
and his story and our
Yeah.
story and your story and the people that we
Hmm.
interact with. And so, um, honestly, I never thought that I would be sitting in this space, and I just felt over and over like the Lord just kept affirming, like,
Hmm.
why would you write? Why would you write these
Hmm.
things? But also seeing the similarities between coaching and the
Hmm.
writing process,
Yeah.
and honestly, we are literally in this season of like, okay, Lord, where do we go? What do we do next?
Yeah.
And so this was something that came up, and we're thrilled to see what the Lord wants to do with that.
Yeah.
And then also, many of you have given financially
Yes.
for us to be a
Thank
part
you.
of this conference that's coming up.
Hmm.
Our first Sharpens Iron conference together.
For this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you may or may not have heard, but in a recent update, but we got invited by a mentor of mine in recovery just to come up to the Northeast and share our story about recovery and the process we've been through at 5 or 6 different conferences. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to go to all of them, but this
Yeah.
next one is this week up in cold Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Well, and
yeah.
it's so you see the sacrifice for us Floridians now.
Yeah, no, the snow, the cold.
Anyway, our kids are
love
thrilled.
it. No, I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's just been really neat to see too how even the filming process
Mhm.
has spurred
Mhm.
and kind of brought up some things that John is
Mhm.
passionate about and has
Yeah.
given some new verbiage to. And so it's
Mhm.
really exciting to see how that has even felt a little bit like
Mhm.
it's preparing. Most of that second set is actually on the things that we feel really passionate about. Like, your spouse is part of your recovery, and what does
Mhm.
that look like? And so
Mhm.
that's exactly what these
Mhm.
this new series is going to be. And we're just really jazzed again to be a part of something that lines up with who we are and what we're jazzed about. And so, I mentioned some cool things and then some hard things, right? And when we reflect on, one of the things that we talk about is how when you reflect on the hard things, like there is still the goodness of the Lord in those hard things. And what does it look like to recognize the good things when the hard things are happening? And so we had the privilege recently of talking with a pastor that John has been connected with and mentoring, and we got to celebrate with him. And so we want you to be able to hear about that and celebrate too.
Totally. And so he called me this week, typical thing. We talk on the phone and share feelings. And so he said that he has, ever since being young, really young, part of his story, and using porn regularly, is that he cannot be alone without going to that. We all need comfort. We all need to de-stress, and we all need
to feel desired and significant and not alone.
And so those are good desires given by God, but we are broken, and so we use other things often. And so for him, porn, sex addiction has been part of that whenever he's been alone at home. And so he found himself alone again at home, and he set up some good boundaries in his process. The last 2 years we walked together, and I've been leading him and some others through this. So he put up some good boundaries about that. And then when he discovered that he is not alone, when he discovered that he was alone, he was all of a sudden like tempted. And yet he remembered that he's not alone. He said, I am not alone. And I have a wife and child, and God is with me. I am not alone. And all of a sudden, that temptation dissipated, and he got through it without
and the
using
reality.
it.
The reality is when we're vulnerable with God, and we feel our weakness, right? We feel the weakness, the temptation. We invite God to be in that hard space with us. He shows up and he does some really amazing things. That's and after 2 years of having these hard boundaries because of not being able to really sit in that desire of like, I want to feel connected. I want to, feel, put whatever words in that, right? And to recognize like, actually, I can bring all of that to the Lord. And this desire to feel those things is good. The desire to have some quietness alone is actually okay and good too. And so anyway.
So that's exciting. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I wanted to share just how this changes a lot, right? Yeah. He's a pastor in a church.
Influence.
An influencer, right? Like it's going to influence his church family. It's going to influence his family, like legacy, so many things. And so we're just really jazzed to see change and to see vulnerability and to see the Lord do some amazing things in hard spaces, right?
So many of you guys are a part of that too, praying and being a part of our ministry financially as well. And so,
And so the hard, right? So the hard is being in that hard place, right? And being tempted and all of that. And so we want to share just briefly about how it's a spiritual battle. And I don't know that we recognized that early on, like 2 years ago. We kind of look back now and realize, gosh, if you are a parent of a small child, any small children, or a grandparent to a small child, you recognize that sleep is valuable. Sickness and injury is like the things that really like get you down, right? Like kids need predictability, some routine, all those things. And then you couple it with some anxiety, right? So we had an instance where a strange person was at our door right about 8 something on a Friday night. Mentally, we thought maybe there was something off, completely drunk on our doorstep, hitting their head against our glass door. We thought they were going to break it against the concrete, banging, let me in. Long story short, the cops, the ambulance, the fire department, like all these people show up, they remove her and bring her to the hospital. But the thing is in that moment, our kids are completely freaked out. And our middle looks at us and says, guys, something's going on. We need to pray for her.
Mm-hmm.
And we recognized this is way bigger than a rando
Yeah.
getting dropped at the wrong house in the wrong night in the whatever. Like this was a thing, right? Like everybody's going to bed early that night, and it like had been a crazy week. And we also knew some cool things were about to happen in ministry. And so we're sharing that because we're about to go to a conference and we're about to travel, and there's going to be a lot of things happening. And we would love for you to be praying for our family. We would love for you to be praying for even the pastor that we shared, right? Like there's just a huge victory in his life. Like, would you join us in praying that the Lord would continue to do these really neat things, that he would continue to use us, and that he would continue to protect us too. And would you suit up and battle with us for these families and for the work that the Lord is just doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to bring us back to that as an encouragement, and for us just to say that the Lord can show up. He does show up when we're vulnerable, and when we invite him into that tough space where we are just, man, things are hard. And so he can just show up and do some amazing things. And so thank you for watching with us
video
and for staying posted like this. And so we look forward to updating you again soon. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Good night.